The Galaxy Council chamber was a place where thousands of worlds sent their leaders. It was built high above a star, glowing with power, filled with voices of the most powerful species in the galaxy. They gathered there to decide laws, wars, and the fate of weaker planets. To most, Earth was nothing more than a small blue world, unimportant, struggling, and weak. To the Council, humanity was laughable, a species that still carried scars from past wars, still divided, still too young to challenge the great empires of the stars. But on this day, the chamber was not filled with laughter. On this day, a human stood in the center. Her name was Liana, a young diplomat from Earth. She was not a soldier, not a warrior, but she carried herself with courage. She looked small in the massive council hall, her figure lost among towering alien forms with glowing eyes, silver skin, and long limbs. The alien leaders looked down on her as if she were a child begging for mercy. Her voice, however, did not shake. "You must stop," she said, her words echoing across the chamber. "If you attack Earth again, if you harm even one more human life, you will awaken something you cannot control. Humanity is not what you believe it to be." The council roared with laughter. 1,000 alien voices mocked her. The Arkoth delegate, whose people ruled 5-star systems with fleets of fire, leaned forward and sneered. "Humanity is weak. Your people hide on your single planet like frightened animals. You dare to speak of control? You are nothing." Another voice, high-pitched and sharp, added, "Your threats are empty. What can Earth do? Throw rocks? Send ships made of rust and smoke?" The laughter spread again. To them her words were meaningless, but Liana did not back down. She raised her voice louder, stronger. "You believe we are weak because we do not show our power. You believe we are divided because we do not reveal what we have built. You killed our explorers, destroyed our colonies, and still we warned you only with words. But hear me now, if you harm us again, Earth will answer, and you will not like what you find." The chamber fell into uneasy silence for a moment. Her eyes burned with truth. She was not lying. Some of the alien leaders shifted uncomfortably, sensing there was something in her tone they could not explain, something hidden. But then the Supreme Chancellor of the Council, a tall being with crystal skin that glowed with inner light, rose from his seat. "You speak with fire, human," the Chancellor said, "but fire from a candle does not frighten the sun. You are alone. Your words are meaningless." He turned to the assembly and raised a hand. "Let us end this." The guards moved before Liana could react. Alien soldiers clad in black armor surrounded her. She tried to step back, but they seized her arms. "You cannot do this," she shouted. "I came here under protection. I came with peace." But peace was not what the council wanted. To them, she was a nuisance, a reminder that humanity still dared to speak as if it were equal. The Chancellor gave a single order. The guards obeyed. The sound of her cry echoed for only a moment before silence swallowed it whole. The chamber lights dimmed and her body fell lifeless to the floor. The council members did not mourn. They returned to their debates, to their laughter, as if nothing had happened. To them, a human life was less than dust. But what they did not know, what they could not understand, was that they had just crossed a line. Far away, on Earth, the news spread. Across cities and colonies, across the oceans and deserts, every human heard the same message. One of their own had been killed in cold blood. She had warned them. She had begged them, and they had ignored her. For a moment, humanity was silent. Shock held the world still, but silence soon turned into something else. A storm. In hidden bunkers buried deep under the ice of Antarctica, alarms began to sound. In secret shipyards on the far side of the moon, lights blazed for the first time in centuries. Deep in the oceans of Earth, enormous shadows began to rise, their hulls breaking through waves, shaking the seas. Humanity had been waiting, watching, preparing. Liana's warning had not been empty. It had been the last chance for peace. The Galaxy Council had ignored her, and now the price would be paid. Above the skies of Earth, engineers and commanders looked to the stars with grim faces. "They thought we were weak," one of them whispered. "Now," another answered, "they will see our fire." The fleet that had slept for generations began to awaken. Engines roared to life. Weapons that no alien had ever seen glowed in the darkness. And across the galaxy, rumors began to spread. The humans had been quiet too long, too patient. Something was coming. Something vast. The Galaxy Council had killed one girl. believing it would silence Earth. Instead, they had given humanity its reason to rise. The news of Liana's death spread across Earth like fire across dry grass. At first there was disbelief. How could the Galaxy Council, a body sworn to peace, commit such a crime in open session? But disbelief soon hardened into rage. Every human who saw her last words, every mother, every soldier, every child, felt the same burning truth. This was no accident. This was a message, and Earth would answer. Beneath the crowded cities and quiet farmlands of Earth, there were places few people knew about. They were built long ago, in the age when humanity first discovered faster-than-light travel, in the days when Earth had reached for the stars, only to be beaten down by older powers. Back then, humanity had learned a harsh lesson. The galaxy had no mercy. The weak were crushed, the naive were used, and the dreamers were silenced. So Earth stopped showing its strength. It turned away from the galaxy's stage, pretending to be small, fractured, lost in its own problems. But beneath that mask, secret work began. In the frozen wastes of Antarctica, far beneath miles of ice, enormous caverns echoed with the hum of engines. Rows upon rows of starships, black and silent, waited in the dark. They were not the small, fragile ships aliens had seen before. These were giants, steel monsters armed with weapons that had never been tested, weapons designed to shatter fleets and crack open planets. On the moon, hidden from alien eyes by cloaking fields, shipyards had been working for generations. Families lived and died there, never returning to Earth, sworn to secrecy. They built and rebuilt, passing down knowledge like sacred scripture. The silent fleet, as whispered in Earth's highest circles, was more than a defense. It was a promise, and now that promise had been called. Across the oceans, deep-sea vaults opened. From the waves rose carriers the size of cities, their decks bristling with fighters and cannons. From deserts, hangars hidden beneath shifting sands rumbled, revealing sleek war machines that had been buried for centuries. The galaxy had laughed at Earth. They had called humans weak, disorganized, too divided to matter. But division had been the mask. Unity had been built in secret. Old generals, once thought retired, emerged from the shadows. Men and women with steel in their eyes walked back into command rooms filled with glowing maps of alien worlds. Young pilots were called from civilian lives, their names whispered as part of an ancient plan. Engineers who had worked on simple machines in public now revealed they had also built the engines of titans. In hidden chambers beneath Earth's capital, a council of humanity gathered. They were not politicians who begged aliens for approval. They were leaders of the silent fleet, chosen long ago for the day humanity would rise. One of them spoke, his voice low, steady. "They killed her," he said. "They believed they silenced us." "They woke us," another answered. The room fell silent as a great screen lit up. Across it, images of the Council's fleets appeared. Thousands of alien warships orbiting Earth's colonies, preparing to press their advantage. They believed Earth would now beg for mercy. They believed fear would break humanity. But the screen changed. It showed the silent fleet rising. Ships breaking through ice, hulls glowing with power, cannons charging, carriers awakening, humanity's shadow stretching across the stars. The youngest member of the council, a woman with short dark hair and eyes full of fire, leaned forward. "They thought we were children playing with stones. They will learn what we have kept hidden. They will see what humanity becomes when cornered." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, whispers spread in the dark markets and back alleys of alien worlds. Traders spoke of strange signals coming from Earth. Miners swore they had seen warships emerging from moons thought empty. Mercenaries told tales of human soldiers with weapons that cut through armor like glass. Most aliens laughed at first. But when scout ships sent to spy on Earth vanished without a trace, the laughter stopped. The Council ignored these warnings. They had killed one human girl. To them it was over. But deep inside, a few alien leaders felt a growing fear. There was something about humanity that had always unsettled them. Humanity did not conquer with age or power. It survived. No matter how many times it was pushed down, it came back stronger. And now, for the first time, they wondered, what if the humans had been planning this all along? In the skies above Earth, massive hangars opened, revealing rows of starfighters with wings like blades. Pilots strapped themselves in, their helmets marked with the old Earth insignia that no alien recognized. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, dreadnoughts, An entire armada that had never been spoken of prepared for war. Engines thundered as the first ships lifted into the sky, shaking the clouds with their roar. People on Earth looked up, their hearts pounding. They had lived in fear for generations, believing they were weak. Now for the first time they saw the truth. Humanity had never been weak. Humanity had been waiting. In a single moment, billions of humans across Earth whispered the same words. For Liana. The past, full of humiliation and silence, was over. The shadows were gone. The fleet was awake, and in the depths of space the Galaxy Council had no idea what storm was coming for them. The Galaxy Council believed itself untouchable. Their fleet stretched across thousands of worlds, their soldiers numbered in the trillions. When they looked at Earth, they saw only one small world, one fragile species. So when the news of Earth's growing anger reached them, they laughed. "Let the humans rage," one council member said, his voice echoing in the hall. "Their fury cannot stop us. We are the stars, they are dust." And so, the council gave its command. Fleets of alien warships moved toward Earth's colonies. Hundreds of massive cruisers orbited Mars, their guns aimed downward at human settlements. More gathered at Jupiter's moons ready to strike. Around Earth itself, alien destroyers took position like vultures circling prey. They expected silence. They expected fear. Instead, the skies erupted. From the oceans of Earth, mountains of steel rose, tearing through the waves. Warships older than any living human but armed with weapons the galaxy had never seen, lifted into the air. Their hulls gleamed with frost, their engines burned with light brighter than suns. From Antarctica, the ice split apart. Dreadnoughts, silent for centuries, ascended into the sky. Each was larger than the Council's flagships, their cannons glowing red with energy. On the far side of the moon, cloaked shipyards opened, releasing a swarm of starfighters and bombers. They spread like a cloud of blades, filling the void with human firepower. The alien fleets had come to intimidate. But now they were trapped. Above Mars, human ships emerged from hidden bases under the red sands. They rose like ghosts, weapons locking onto alien cruisers. The first volley was fired. Blinding beams of light cut through the blackness of space. An alien ship shattered in an instant. Another exploded, its fire lighting the Martian sky. The aliens panicked. They returned fire, but their weapons struck only shadows. Human ships darted in and out of cloak, vanishing and reappearing like predators from nightmares. "Impossible," an alien commander whispered. His hands shook as another of his cruisers was ripped apart. Humans should not have this technology. But they did. On Jupiter's moons, the story was the same. Alien destroyers opened fire on human settlements only to be torn apart by missiles rising from underground silos. From beneath the ice of Europa, submarines surfaced, launching torpedoes that turned battleships into fireballs. Then Earth's carriers arrived. Colossal ships, each the size of a floating city, entered orbit. Their decks opened, and from them poured endless squadrons of fighters. Sleek, black, and armed with weapons far beyond alien understanding. They flew like swarms of wasps, tearing apart capital ships in seconds. The aliens had never feared humans before, but now they saw what lay beneath the mask, and above Earth itself, the most terrifying sight of all appeared: the Leviathan. It was the flagship of the Silent Fleet, hidden for generations beneath the Pacific Ocean. When it rose, the seas boiled around it. It pierced the clouds like a mountain lifted into the sky. Its weapons were so powerful that even the Council had no names for them. One shot fired from the Leviathan. Only one. An alien warship the size of a continent simply vanished, obliterated, erased, leaving only silence in its place. The message was clear. Humanity had awakened. Across the galaxy, alien broadcasts carried the images of burning fleets, destroyed armadas, human ships standing tall against the stars. Worlds that once mocked Earth now watched in awe and terror. In the council chamber, panic spread. Reports poured in from every front. Our fleets are falling. Humans have technology beyond our charts. They strike like ghosts. The Supreme Chancellor rose to his feet, his crystal body trembling. How is this possible? They were weak. They were nothing. But deep inside, he already knew. The human girl's words had not been a threat. They had been a warning, and they had ignored it. Back on Earth, the human fleet's commanders stood together in their war room. Their faces were calm, their voices steady. Phase 1 is complete, one said. The Council fleets are broken. Another leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Now we move to Phase 2. The plan was not just defense. It was not just survival. It was something more. The galaxy had hurt humanity for too long. Now humanity would show the galaxy what true vengeance looked like. And so, the silent fleet pushed outward, toward the Council's strongholds, toward the very worlds where Liana's death had been ordered. The first strike had ended. The war of humanity had only just begun. The galaxy had never seen war like this. For thousands of years, the Council believed it ruled with strength no one could match. Their fleets had crushed rebellions, burned colonies, and silenced worlds. But against Earth, their firepower meant nothing. The silent fleet did not defend, it hunted. Human warships moved with terrifying speed, appearing where no alien thought possible. Cloaked vessels slipped past patrols and tore apart flagships from within their own formations. Swarms of drones filled space like storms of iron, overwhelming defenses in seconds. Missiles bent their paths as if alive, chasing fleeing ships across entire star systems. The Council's greatest generals tried to rally their fleets. They commanded with pride, with arrogance, but their voices broke as their ships exploded one after another. This is not war. One alien captain whispered as his screens filled with the light of burning allies. This is extinction. The silent fleet had awakened with purpose. On the colony world of Avaris, alien citizens gathered in their shining cities, watching the skies as thousands of human ships appeared. The Council's defenders rushed to meet them, but in less than an hour the defense fleet was gone. The cities trembled as human dreadnoughts entered orbit. A message echoed down, spoken in a calm, cold human voice. You killed one of us. You mocked us. Now you will remember our name. Moments later, the skies rained with fire. Alien fortresses turned to ash. Towers that had stood for centuries crumbled under precision strikes. The humans did not destroy everything. They chose their targets carefully. They broke the Council's pride. They burned the symbols of its power. And still the fleet moved on. World after world fell silent. Alien commanders fled to the Council capital, desperate to protect what little strength remained. But whispers had already spread among their own people. The humans are coming. The silent fleet cannot be stopped. Earth is vengeance itself. Even empires outside the Council began to fear. Races that had once mocked humanity now closed their borders, praying the storm would pass them by. But the storm only grew stronger. Back on Earth, the war room was lit with maps of star systems. Red marks spread across them like fire-consuming paper. Each mark was a Council world that had fallen. General Kalen, one of the oldest commanders, leaned on the table. His voice was steady, almost emotionless. They never thought we could rise. They never thought we could fight. Now they know, and they are afraid. Admiral Soren, commander of the Leviathan, spoke next. His eyes were hard, his tone sharp. This is no longer about defense. This is about justice. They will learn never to touch humanity again. Around the table, no one argued. They all remembered Liana's last warning. They all remembered the centuries of humiliation, the years of silence while the galaxy laughed at them. Now that silence had broken, there would be no turning back. The fleet moved toward the heart of the Council. On the way, they encountered the Council's eternal armada, a force of 10,000 ships said to be undefeatable. The aliens gathered with pride, their banners shining, their weapons armed. The humans entered the system. The battle lasted less than 2 hours. Cloaked dreadnoughts appeared inside the enemy's formation, firing weapons that shattered cruisers like glass. Swarms of drones cut through destroyers until space was filled with wreckage. The Leviathan entered last, its cannon glowing like a second sun. When it fired, half the enemy armada vanished in a single blast. The Council's eternal armada was no more. Across the galaxy, every broadcast carried the same image, a field of alien wreckage, and in the center, the human fleet standing untouched. The message was clear. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity was the predator. On alien worlds, fear turned to despair. Citizens whispered in the streets. Some even prayed to human gods, believing Earth had become a force beyond mortal understanding. Others began to rise against the Council itself, no longer willing to follow leaders who could not protect them. The Council chamber, once filled with laughter, now echoed with silence. Leaders argued, shouted, begged, but nothing could change the truth. One alien senator cried out, his voice shaking, "They were nothing. They were shadows. How can this be?" The Supreme Chancellor stood, his glowing form dim. He finally spoke the words no one wanted to hear. "We underestimated them. We believed humanity was weak. We were wrong. And now we will all pay the price." Outside, the stars burned with the light of war. The silent fleet was coming for them. And deep within the Leviathan, Admiral Soren gave a final order to his fleet. No mercy. No surrender. Humanity rises tonight. The Council capital had always been the pride of the galaxy. Built around a golden star, its towers of crystal stretched into the heavens. Fleets of ships guarded it at all times, their numbers so great that no empire dared attack. To the galaxy, it was untouchable. To Earth, it was the final target. When the silent fleet arrived, the skies of the capital changed forever. The alien defenders filled space with thousands of ships. They spread in perfect formation, confident that this time they would hold. But as the first human warships appeared, their confidence cracked. The Leviathan led the charge, its black hull blotting out the sun. Around it swarmed carriers, dreadnoughts, and fighters, all moving as one. To the Council, it looked less like a fleet and more like a living storm. The aliens opened fire first. Beams of light, missiles, plasma bolts, everything they had. For a moment, space itself seemed to burn, but the human ships did not fall. Their shields absorbed the storm. Their counterattack came like thunder. A single shot from the Leviathan's cannon tore through a line of alien battleships, reducing them to dust. Fighters darted through enemy lines, striking engines and command centers with precision. Cloaked vessels appeared behind the enemy and cut them down from the shadows. The defenders broke. Ships fled in every direction. Admirals screamed orders, but none were obeyed. Fear ruled them now. And then, humanity descended upon the capital world. The towers of crystal shook as dreadnoughts entered the atmosphere. The skies turned black with human carriers, their decks glowing with fire. Citizens looked up in terror, their world darkened by the shadow of Earth's vengeance. A message cut across every channel, every screen, every broadcast in the system. It was not shouted. It was not screamed. It was spoken in a calm, steady human voice. You thought humanity was weak. You believed you could kill one of us and silence the rest. You were wrong. We are not dust. We are not prey. We are fire, and fire does not forgive. The words spread through the city. Every alien heard them. Every leader froze. Then, before the council chamber itself, the Leviathan descended. Its engines shook the ground, its cannons glowing with restrained power. The once proud leaders of the galaxy stood helpless in their hall, watching their skies filled with human steel. Admiral Soren appeared before them, his image projected high above the city. He wore no crown, no cloak of power, only the dark uniform of Earth's fleet. But his voice carried more weight than any emperor. For centuries you mocked us. For centuries you crushed us. Today that ends. From this day humanity kneels to no one. From this day you will remember Earth not as weak, but as the storm that burned your arrogance away. The chamber shook with silence. No alien dared to speak. Then Soren's tone grew sharper. You killed one girl believing it would end us. Instead, it united us. Liana's name will be remembered for all time, not as a victim, but as the spark that lit the fire of humanity. Outside, the silent fleet hovered above the capital, its weapons aimed at the heart of the council. The message was clear. One more act of defiance and the city would be gone. The chancellor of the council, his crystal body now dim and cracked, finally fell to his knees. His voice broke as he spoke. What do you want from us?" Admiral Soren's reply was simple. Respect and silence. With that, the Leviathan powered down its main cannon. Across the fleet, weapons turned away. Humanity had made its point. The galaxy was theirs to command if they wished, but Earth did not want to rule. They wanted something greater, a future without chains, a voice that no one could silence. The silent fleet withdrew slowly, leaving behind the shattered pride of the council. They did not burn the city. They did not destroy the capital. They left it standing because its ruins were no longer made of stone, but of fear. In every corner of the galaxy, the story spread. The humans had risen. The humans had fought. The humans had won. Children of alien worlds whispered the new name of Earth, the world of fire. Soldiers across empires spoke in hushed tones, "Do not cross the humans." And former enemies, once cruel masters, now sent envoys to Earth begging for peace. Back on Earth, people filled the streets watching the stars as the fleet returned. They cheered not as conquerors, but as survivors who had taken their place in the galaxy at last. The name of Liana, the girl who had warned the Council, was carved into monuments across the planet. Her words, once ignored, now burned into history. "If you harm us again, Earth will answer." And Earth had answered. The galaxy would never forget.